And Nigeria is going through its worst unemployment crisis in a decade, and that's according to the World Bank. The unemployment rate in the country has risen fivefold in the last 10 years. The World Bank says the significant increase from 6.4% in 2010 to 33.3% at the end of 2020 affected Nigerian youth the most. Well, in March, the National Bureau of Statistics said more than 23 million people either did nothing or worked for less than 20 hours a week.
All right, financial analyst Eze Onyekpere joins us to discuss the World Bank report. Eze, glad to have you join us on Newsnight. Nigeria going through one of its worst unemployment crises in a decade, according to that World Bank report. Three things. How does this, rub off on the economy? That's one. On the employable or workforce of the nation, and then of course three. And how does it affect employers of labor, production, and manufacturers?
Well, very well. The situation that was reported by the earlier being reported by the Bureau of Statistics, and it's just a natural result of the policies and programs and the implementation of policies in the last couple of years. First of all, we two recessions under 6 years, and we've had a growing insecurity situation that where lives have meant for nothing, prevented from going about their daily business and livelihoods, especially in the agriculture, in the rural area, which has been the mainstay of the nation's economy. And of course, we growth that is more than 3.2% per annum, while the economy has been growing for less than every year. So all this combined to create this kind of unimaginable unemployment situation, and of course, the other macroeconomic fundamentals heading south. Well, we have a situation where companies that are supposed to create these jobs are no longer available. Many of them are closing. And so the areas where these young men and women or those who are unemployed are supposed to work is not available. Because that means decreased productivity and a decreased GDP, the production and service delivery going on in the country. So at the end of the day, if you look at these things in a totality, these are simply result an economic management system and policies that have not adequately responded to challenges that is facing the nation.
In essence, if I get you right, the social intervention programs and other programs to lift Nigerians, well, about how many did the president say he was going to lift out of poverty in 10 years? About 100 million have more or less fallen on their faces. What then would be the way out? And I'd also like to ask, can this huge Nigeria population of about 207 million actually absorb this numbers that are, trooping out of the country on a yearly basis?
Well, it's not a question of saying you want to lift 100 million people out of poverty. This is what policies do you have in place? What programs do you have in place? People handouts of 10,000 will not solve the problem. You're rather deepening the problem, particularly if you understand that a good part of the money that was taken to give out this handout, you borrow money and give it out unsustainably to people. You are that will continue borrowing more to pay the debt. So in terms of even Nigeria, it's expected that we have a big population. People will, if they find no future in the country, will definitely want to vote with their feet to find other greener pastures where they will be able to make a livelihood. So my expectation in the way forward is for government to understand that they acknowledge them and then seek for alternatives, even if not from the people who are presently in the country. Let other people come and make suggestions, make recommendations, and let's try out new ideas, and not simply to say we've come to the end of our thing. It's only in continuing in this direction where we are presently going that it can work. They are not changed.
Yes, let's reason together. It's projected that 21 2100, that's 2100, Europe's working force, working age population rather, between ages 20 to 64 would decrease by 30%. It's also projected at the same time that the working population, age population in Nigeria could increase by as much as 140%. What's the import of this, and what should the government and leaders, not just the government, because you talked about harnessing ideas, should be doing concerning this?
Our government creates the enabling macroeconomic framework and policy, the private sector or civil society or any other person to do anything that will be creation. So what I expect is that right enabling policy for us to provide opportunities for the private sector and civil society and advantage of, and be able, to begin to create jobs. So the enabling environment, once you don't create it, then we are still back to thing to do is to tackle insecurity. Once you tackle that, people at the rural area is grow the food they eat and be able to continue in the agricultural livelihoods they are used to before we begin to talk about. And so, in essence, the basic starting point is the enabling environment, which we don't have presently.
Oh, well, Sunday, Nigeria will be celebrating Nigeria Diaspora Day. When you put brain drain on the one hand, and you put diaspora contributions that come up to about $25 billion every year, would you say then that gives some kind of glimmer of hope that there's some positive coming out of, this Nigerians that go out of the shores of this country as they bring something back home that helps the economy?
Well, I don't want to see brain drain as positive. Yes, we are getting $25 billion in remittances, but imagine what these people put in terms of growing our economy. If they remained in the country, you don't use your best engineers, your best lawyers, and allow them to leave, because what country is a negligible proportion of the kind of wealth that they have created if they have been in Nigeria. Yes, we'll welcome those remittances, the way countries grow over the long term. America, China don't leave their base to go out and then simply depend on the remittance. Let's create an enabling environment for Nigerians in Nigeria to be able to create wealth, live, and then instead of hoping for remittances, let us hope revenue from exports based on the value we've added in the country. A more sustainable way.
Much, Eze Onyekpere is a financial analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on News Night.